George, is that I see a lot of court against a lot of challenges when it comes to application. My name is Ahmed Al-Najjar, and this is Monday Legal. My guest for today is a very special guest because she's coming all the way from Bahrain for an event, and I met her by chance yesterday and I was amazed. I thought that it is impossible that I do not invite her to be one of our guests. My guest today is Aseel Zimmo. Thank you very much and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, Ahmed. I'm really excited about this.
Thanks a lot. And I am more excited than you, I guess. And introducing Aseel, she is the managing partner of the First Link, and she's a lawyer, but her company is not a law firm. So let's talk about that.
Well, it's a bit of a history. I started as a lawyer in a law firm. I also did in-house. And then for the last more than 10 years, worked as the advisor to the Chief Justice and the Minister of Justice of Bahrain. And I hanged those boxing gloves early this year. And so when you come after a decade of doing this one thing, now it wasn't one thing, as you can imagine, it was a lot of things. But then when at the end of that, I was like, what is it that I fancy doing? So I went in-house. It's like, no, that's too claustrophobic. And I working as a lawyer, I was like, I'm not really sure. The idea of getting clients, you've spent the last 10 years of your life really building things, creating procedures, courts, writing laws, writing regulations. It's like building a house, like building a mansion, like building a tower. So you don't, under no circumstances, want to go do something a little bit less building. So at the end of that process, I thought to myself, not a law firm. So what shall I do? What are my passions? My passions are two things: mediation and arbitration. That's when the problems arise. But actually, what's even more important is actually creating contractual relationships between parties that avoid conflict. So my consultancy is how to avoid conflict, most importantly, and then when it does arise, how to resolve it, preferably by mediation. And that's the panel we met on yesterday.
Exactly.
But if we really, really, really have to, when we can, might as well go to arbitration. Even though I love the courts and courts in the world now, I have to say, not the same courts that were 10 years ago even.
True.
All the courts have worked on their procedures, on their efficiency, on their quality, and all that has been in the region and internationally have been a big, big, big part of every justice system. But still, that is not the ideal solution to people's problems for many reasons. In particular, it's adversarial. I like people that start happily ever together to continue to a great extent happily ever.
Yes. Well, what caught my attention yesterday, and it was really amazing, is that all my life I thought few things about mediation. I'm not in litigation. I'm not in arbitration. I'm not a conflict resolution lawyer by any means. But I had in my mind an image for mediation. But after the panel, I realized I have no idea. What I thought I'm doing was mediation. What I thought is sitting with the client, agreeing on a few things, meeting the other party, and trying to offer a negotiation points and so on. And what I realized that all what I thought is mediation was actually negotiation.
Absolutely.
And yesterday's panel, it was very clear for me that I need to learn about this.
See, that is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that every single lawyer, so I do a lot of trainings, and every single time I start a training, I say to people, has anybody ever done mediation before? And every lawyer in the room, of course, we do it all the time.
We do it every day.
In fact, you think every time we get a client, we just go straight to the court? No, we call the other side, we try to find a solution, and when it's not successful, we go to court. And I used to say, that's not mediation.
That's not mediation.
That's pure negotiation.
Yeah.
You kind of need a third neutral party in the room. Like, that's kind of a definition of the word mediation. And they're like, what? Really? The cool thing, after 5 days of training, I always ask the question, so what were you doing before? Was it mediation? And everybody in the room, like you on the panel yesterday, realized, no, of course not. That isn't. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we face as mediation practitioners. It also, in Arabic, the word mediation also is very similar to a lot of other words. That means absolutely not mediation. But going back even with mediation in English, people assume it is just anybody trying to find a solution between two people, and it isn't anybody. It is somebody that is always best to be neutral, somebody that stands in the middle between the parties, in that kind of, if you think of in a kind of metaphorical sense. And more importantly, somebody that's got the real skills. And these skills are not organic, and they're not in personality, and it's not I'm born a great talker and I'm really good at the conflict resolution. That's not it.
Yes.
It is not God gift to you. It is actually a lot of studying, a lot of training. It's an art and a science. And yes, I know there are everybody in personalities, in the playgrounds, among your friends, among your family. You're the conflict resolution guy or girl. Yes, of course. We've all got one of those in our lives. That doesn't mean that you're a mediator. That means you're good at conflict resolution, and that is an informal process, and you do it organically, and I'm sure it's very successful and works. But when it comes to real mediation, when you're doing it properly, when you have got, for example, commercial matters at stake, when it's between businesses, between suppliers, between shareholders, you kind of need a little bit more than this natural, I'm really good at this. So we go through quite a lot of training. We go through a lot of experience. We study hard how to do this. And you learn skills. You learn skills how to, two people that usually come to mediation have been fighting for a while. Nobody wakes up one morning and, decide, khalas, it's a fight. Usually there's a big built up between two parties. And this is the same between personal relationships as well as business relationships. You're always late by paying my invoice. And every single time, I'm okay with it. First time, second time, third time, fifth time, 100th time, it's fine. And then somehow, now your delay by you not paying my invoice is starting to affect my cash flow as a company. So now it's become an issue. Now it's not a matter of me being nice. Now you're actually really affecting my business. And I tell you, every time you're late for my invoice, Ahmed, it would be really nice if you pay the invoice on time. How about we agree different terms for payment? So I can expect, I know when you're going to pay, rather than you randomly pay whatever suits you. And we go through this. And with time, these things cause challenges. You get to a point where you say, Ahmed, it will not work like this anymore. You really need to pay the invoice on time. Now, long story short, eventually, maybe you get a friend, a business colleague, or a lawyer to pick up the phone and call the other side and say, guys, come on, can we really not find a solution to this? And you go through that, and that takes time. And that builds animosity between people, because every day we are still in conflict. We're still not liking each other more and more. And so to get those people that now built over a period of months or years, certain resistance, animosity, and a negative feeling to the other person, to get them in a room and to get them to agree to resolve their conflict together amicably requires a lot of skill. It starts with, not simply just breaking the ice. We were trained to do some sort of particular introduction, to set the rules, for people to understand what they're in for. People need to understand what exactly the process is going to look like. We do, for example, joint sessions with the parties, and what necessary, we do separate sessions with the party. When you come to do separate sessions, it's really important, and this is one of the most difficult, is the other party realizes and is sure that you're not going to take anybody's side. Just because I'm going to get you in a room separately from the other person, it doesn't mean they're going to win me over. And it's going to be me realizing, I know this person is right and the other person is wrong. More importantly, is actually not making that determination at all. It's not your job as a mediator to work out who's right and who's wrong. And us lawyers find that really hard, because it's like the matrix of our lives.
Very hard. Me thinking about it right now, I think that is very hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a technical person. So the conflict between people is an interpretation of a clause, for example, like in your contract.
Yeah.
And you're a lawyer, all of us look at anything and know the answer. We think we always know the answer anyway.
Of course.
But, people come to us and pay us a lot of money because they think we know the answer. So the whole business is built around this optic.
Yes.
The reality is, so you come to a mediation and you look at it, and you as a lawyer have to resist all temptation to make any form of assessment, whether somebody's right or wrong, whether the person is legally right or illegally right, or not in line with the law. Make the assessment whether one person is stronger than the other. This is the weaker party. Oh, this person needs more protection, etc., etc. You need to be able, with a great amount of training, honestly, to really, really resist the temptation in getting involved. You need to stay like a football match on the sidelines. Those coaches that always, constantly going, you are not that coach. You're the coach that's just standing there and letting the show run. By just simply, slowly helping the parties facilitate the conversation between them. At the beginning, you're sitting right there and both people are talking to you. Nobody's talking to the other person. And it's really, really important. The basic things in body language is to get people somehow, and you can see it shifting, the whole thing shifts, the relationship, the conflict, everything about it shifts. Once start people doing this and start talking to each other. All of a sudden, the other person is a person. The other person is somebody you're talking to. Whereas before, right at the beginning, you're always talking to the mediator. And for the mediator to be able to move people in that way, to face each other and talk, express, most importantly, their emotions, their feelings, exactly what is it, the reason why they're really fighting. My example about your invoice is late.
Yeah.
That person is really upset because he doesn't understand why you're suing me now. Well, I've always been late and you've always been okay about it. What he doesn't know is that lateness is now costing the other guy serious cash flow problem. And he's now late to his own invoices. And some of the times, all the other person needs to know, and it's a bit of the longer the relationships, the more people take the other person for granted. That's a fact in relationship when it comes to husband and wife and boyfriend, girlfriends. Yeah. And that very much is in business.
Very similar.
Right?
Yeah.
And you must understand that if I could pay you, I would. I'm just late because I couldn't. So now why are you suing me? We've been business partners. We've been friends. We've been working together now for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. Why? Why is it all of a sudden now I've got a call from your lawyer? Why have I got that legal notice? So you get really upset as a person. You're really hurt that the other person did not understand your feelings, didn't understand your situation when you've known each other for such a long time. The other part is thinking, my friend, you're overdoing it. It's now affecting my own business. It's now causing me my own problems. And those conversations, neither of those conversations have happened. Remember, what we've done is our notices and emails gone back and forth, and then some lawyer picked up the phone and said, how are you going to pay? And as best the lawyers can do, try to do this. And I'm sure you've done it 100 times. And you've probably been successful quite a few times. I have no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that if you go to mediation with that same exact dispute, a well-trained mediator, a mediator that is right for the dispute, will not be able to resolve it, despite the fact that everybody tried their best efforts before. And once people explain to the other person what exactly is the reason for this dispute, things start moving. More importantly, we focus on interest, not who's right or wrong. Sometimes all it's going to take is for Aseel to promise Ahmed, I will pay you every 60 days. I know our contract used to say 30. I know I'm never made it on 30. I'm never going to be able to do 30. You know why? Because all of my invoices say 90. So there was an unalignment. And Ahmed says, okay, I don't think I can do 60, but maybe 45. And I said, okay, fine. I promise you we'll do 45. And on that basis, we've come up with a solution. Now, if we went to court or if we went to arbitration, that solution is never available.
Yeah, it wouldn't be available anywhere.
Because what is the judge going to do? What is the arbiter going to do? Their job is to make a decision on your behalf.
And it's always one side.
Of course, one has to lose, one has to win.
Yeah.
In mediation, the parties together come to that solution.
But let me ask you this, because we have seen this numerous times. And when we go, I represent private clients most of the time. I represent one side always. And when the conflict happen, usually the frustration is already to the maximum.
Of course.
The parties, when they come to speak to us about this situation, they already have tried talking to each other. I've sent numerous emails. And when you tell them, let's sit down and negotiate, they don't even want to do that because they have tried themselves and they feel like whatever you're going to do is not going to be better than what I did. So why do I have to go to mediation? Because I know the mediation is going to be cost, is going to be time, and is going to be technical work as well, because I'm going to open all the files and so on. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to go to court and spend all of that again. So it's not just time and cost, it's going to be technical work done twice, cost twice, and time twice.
That's a misconception.
Okay.
The percentage worldwide of resolving disputes through mediation is above 80%. More importantly, the enforcement, the voluntary enforcement or the implementation of that settlement agreement is over 90%. These are really substantive numbers. When I was in private practice, I tell you how we do it. Sit down with the client, we say, okay, you want from the other side $1 million dirhams. Okay. Can I just honestly, if you got your $1 million dirhams 50% now or in 3 months, would it be better than $1 million dirhams in a year's time? Most businesses, the answer would be yes.
Yes.
For sure.
True.
100%.
Yeah.
This is one. Number two, let's get it, a pen and paper, right? Let's do it by facts, right? We're lawyers. Let's calculate the cost of the mediation and the time. The cost of most mediators is not very much. Most mediations are done by 1 or 2 days. Done. Actually, only really big mediation will go on for a week. And reality is, depending on the size of the disputes and how, got experience a mediator is, it might finish in hours, which nothing in other dispute resolution processes finishes in hours. So that time, you've got really nothing to lose. The cost is so minimal. In return, for getting your money now, for saving on your legal fees, the cost of going to court, the cost of experts, the cost of lawyers' fees, all of those things, you put them down on a piece of paper. And this is hard for a lawyer. And you heard me say this yesterday. They literally is going against your own interests. I get that. And I have an answer for this, if you let me. And you put it down on a piece of paper to the client. You say, now we're putting the value of money on one side, the value of distraction from your business, which is you're not here to fight with other people. You want to make money. You want to build a business. You want to make it look great. You want to you want to have achievements. You don't want to be distracted by a lawsuit. Even if you got the best lawyer, your client is still distracted by this lawsuit, right?
Of course.
So based on that, you put that value on one side, the value of money now or very soon, the value of the distraction, the value of the emotional and strain. And then you put all the money because, at the end of the day, everything boils down to the dollars, the pound, the dirhams, the dinars. You put that and then you compare it. Is it really too much of a risk to go and try to bring a mediator for a day or two to pay them something very small compared to any lawyer's fee? I say as an arbitrator, any arbitrator fee. And even going to court is not cheap anywhere.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
So all of those expenses, is it really worth trying with the percentage of success being so high? That's a conversation you need to have with your client.
I think, and there is also another vertical to think about it. If I have a lawsuit against one of my suppliers or customers and I win, but that's the end. The relationship and the business opportunities for the future is gone. There's no opportunities again, but with mediation, there is a chance to do business together.
Oh, absolutely. 100% the parties are going to go back doing business together because they resolve whatever the conflict that was between them. There's no reason why they can continue to continue to work together and have business together. I think it's really, really important to realize in the region in particular, and in Bahrain, where I've been living for the last 12 years, the available options of suppliers, for example, for anything given is 1, 2, 3. If you're going to take every single one of them to court, you're going to be out of business. But that's the case even in big places like Saudi Arabia with these major projects, right? How many contractors can actually deliver the projects that are, I'm talking internationally, how many contractors can deliver the projects in Saudi Arabia at that size? 10? 5? Very few. So you cannot afford, neither you as a contractor, to miss out on these opportunities because
20, 40% of the market because of court cases.
Because of a court case.
Yeah.
And the same way, you as a business owner, an employer, in construction, cannot afford to eliminate very good contractors out of the game because you're going to take them to court. And the reality is, and this is what the most important task of a mediator is, to remind the people why they even got into business together from the first place. Very importantly, you want to deliver that project, don't you? The employer wants to deliver. The contractor certainly wants to deliver. So, okay, well, let's go deliver the project. Let's just not spend a year, 2 or 3 in courts trying desperately to resolve this problem, or in an arbitration. And then, even more importantly, so I got my award. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Now enforce it.
Execution.
Hard. Very hard.
Very hard.
Very hard.
We'll come back to that after our coffee break. Thank you very much, and wait for Aseel Zimmo.